This thing about non-human entities coming here and manipulating our reality, it's all happening here. These entities come from outside into our reality, that is, from a frequency band that we are unable to decode, and they manipulate our reality. The reality that we decode and experience, that is a completely different way of looking at our world. For example, when we think about education, when you look at the night sky, you see a huge distance, obviously, and people talk about millions and billions of light years. In fact, what you are looking at in the form you think you are looking at is happening here. Where is the distance? Everything is just an illusion. You may be asking yourself now, what do bells have to do with our topic? And you might be surprised at how big a symbol it is. What if I told you that the heart of the bell represents the Earth's core, which deviates once every approximately 25,800 years, or once per Platonic year? But we'll come back to the bell later. Our ancestors believed that the world was located on the back of a turtle. Even before the time of Galileo Galilei or before Terry Pratchett's writing of the flat Earth. But how did they come up with this shape? The idea of Earth and space takes many forms in people's imagination. And that's actually a good thing, because as long as people have imagination, nothing is actually lost. From flat Earth to Earth globe. But there are other bizarre ideas. This is the unshakable vision of the movement of the planets around the sun. So unshakable that theories about a different order of the world provoke ridicule and condemnation. This idea of our world has become a global dogma with absolute validity. The founder of the idea of heliocentrism is Galileo Galilei. Its origin can therefore be dated to the 16th century. Galileo Galilei's ideas about planets revolving around the sun caused a schism with the church of his time and was declared a heretic. His ideas contradicted both biblical texts and the teachings of Aristotle. Although Galileo Galilei had a telescope at his disposal that zoomed in on the sky 8 times and was later improved to zoom in 20 times, he had absolutely no evidence for his claims. Similarly, mainstream science has no evidence to support heliocentrism. However, there is sophisticated technology that has perfected this claim. This is reflected in the images that are presented to us. I too have no tangible evidence of what the Earth looks like, and can only rely on ancient texts, symbols, and geometric patterns imprinted on sacred buildings and petroglyphs across the world. Galileo Galilei died under house arrest in Pisa, Italy. In 1992, 359 years after his death, Pope John Paul II lifted the Inquisition against Galileo, stating that methodical research according to moral principles is not contrary to faith, because worldly things and matters of faith come from the same God. In other words, people are fallible, but effort is appreciated. One of the many theories about the heliocentric system claims that our sun flies through space and the planets orbit around it. This creates a kind of spiral. You can probably imagine what this would mean for life on Earth, especially the high probability of a collision with another cosmic body. And this is the vision of a flat Earth with an atmosphere and a sun outside the Earth's atmosphere. This vision from Adobe comes closest. The sun and moon move through our atmosphere. But there's still something missing. NASA Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, Atacama Large Millimeter Array, European Organization for Astronomical Research in the Southern Hemisphere, and many others only present you with images supposedly millions and billions of years away. And we must not forget the large binocular telescope located on Mount Graham in Arizona. It has an unusual name, Lucifer, and belongs to the Vatican. The name Lucifer can be translated as the one who makes light and very likely belongs to the sun, although we have other images associated with this name. The Vatican has a keen interest in what happens on and near the sun, and uses a system of mirrors, rays, and their reflections to obtain a true image of our sun. No, it's not the sun they show you in the media, and besides, our world is one big mirror. Do you remember the name Nibiru? Let me remind you that this is a corrupted word, and the correct one is Nibura, meaning behind the sun, or also behind the mirror. This expression is also found on a fresco in Dendera, Egypt. However, we will not focus on the sun today and will dedicate a separate video to it. So here we have this beautiful turtle that carries the entire world on its shell. And look how similar it is to this depiction of a flat Earth, only the shell is missing. And then we have the strange old maps. Look how this depiction of the world resembles our turtle. Antarctica here is not a continent, but a strip of land that forms a kind of ring around the Earth's base. By the way, let's look at it on Google Earth. If we look at the North Pole, we find a fairly normal landscape, or rather sea. There is nothing to indicate any manipulation of the image. However, the situation at the South Pole is different. What is that wheel doing here? Where is the landscape? Let's move further north to the strange patterns in the mountain range. Do you see it there? Our world has one peculiarity. All identical halves put together in a mirror image create a completely different picture. Here we can see strange faces. Remember the totems in the Great Pyramid? But these totems were not caused by image manipulation. They are created here artificially as a kind of hint. We will use it later. Where is the landscape? This is a complete distortion of the images by human or AI intervention. It is quite likely that some areas with this distortion will never be seen on Google Earth, even though in most images we can see a pin lying on the street. And another totem pole, and on the left, you can see the manipulation of the image. Notice the identical patterns on both halves. Additionally, this area is rendered in mirror image. But let's go back to our turtle for a moment. This is the biblical map of the world according to Professor Ferguson. Doesn't it remind you of a turtle? According to ancient texts, the earth is set in a square pool, and angels send winds from its four corners. The corners of the earth resemble the limbs of a turtle. The earth, like a turtle's shell, could also be compared to the biblical mountain, which, however, had many names throughout history. Today, biblical names are used only in a local sense, and this is confusing to most people. However, we will now be interested in sacred geometry, and that will be the topic for the next video. I will look forward to the next meeting.